All right, good afternoon. This is Lucky Lynx. I would like to show you two concepts here. I started this in another video in which I showed you how to use a Lenormand card to lay down to create a house, and then throw another card on top of it to show what's going on in that house. I'd like to address a couple of concepts continuing from that. One, how the past seeds the future, and two, how for those of you who've done Lenormand, and those of you who haven't, you know that a grand tableau is when you take all 36 cards. They're ordered from 1 to 36. Each numbered space from 1 to 36 corresponds to a house that corresponds to an area of the querent's life, the person who's asking the question's life. Those of you who've done this know that laying them all out shows you a big, huge thing. Then you can see in columns what's coming, what the past, present, future is. And but for some people, I see this all the time, people struggle because there's so much. There's so much information, which is why I said in that last video, you have an option. Take a card, lay it down, and then that creates a house. Take a card, lay that one down on top of it, and then you see what's happening in that house. This serves a couple purposes. One, you don't have the whole thing to look at and tackle it once. And two, you can see what particular areas of their life are important and are their focus at the moment. So for example, in this case, let's say I laid the first card down and it's the garden, right? So it may be social situations, and then this one would be laying down on top of it, and then it's the fox, and I might say to someone, I see right now that you're more introverted, that you're suspicious of social situations, for example. Or that you find social situations tricky right now for whatever reason. Okay, and I'd look at the other stuff to see what it was. Okay, so then I would know right now the big thing that's standing out is, now for those of you who saw a couple videos ago where I showed how you lay the whole thing out, I say, look, feel what area is standing out. That's the hot spot. I'll show you what is standing out. However, in some cases you don't want to, like I see people all the time, they'll do a relationship question, for example, like, is he interested? And then they'll throw a whole grand tableau, and then they'll be confused because it's covering every area of their life, and not every area of their life is necessarily involved in whatever question they're asking in that case. So let's do a quick example, and then I'm going to show you again how to do that, and I'm going to show you how the past seeds the future and gives you insight into what the nature of the question is and how that person really got there. Because in a lot of cases, people, when you're reading for them, are very confused about how they get somewhere. They're like, I don't understand how I got here. Or they're not very clear on why they're not getting an outcome that they want. And you may be confused on why they're not getting the outcome they want. So let's say, for example, say someone's got a relationship question. They come to you and they've got a relationship question. You're going to see what three houses, what three areas of their life this is affecting most. We'll look at past, present, and future here, and then we'll see how this past seeds the future, and I'll show you that right now. So in the past, let's say the area that came into play was they were at a crossroads in their life. Okay, so that's the house. It means that area of their life was in play. They were at a crossroads. Something had come into their life. They were at a crossroads. Now, what falls into that house? Moon. They were confused. They felt lost. Also, because I'm a big proponent of looking at what's actually on the cards, this is Lon Chaney Jr., who was the werewolf, and the moon has to do with cycles. Perhaps they were in a crossroads where this individual felt very pressured by the cycles of their life, the need to express the animal or sexual side of themselves, and or they felt pressured at the cycle of their life that they were at. So this is big from just two cards. Middle, where they're at now. The house that it's affecting now has to do with social situations, being social, being open, and then strength. Somehow, that is affecting the strength of their social position at this moment. And so if I put the pieces together in using my intuition in a story, I might say something like, you felt very pressured at the time to get involved in a situation because you felt that the cycle of life that you were in, you needed to be in a relationship, and you did. In this particular case now that you did, you're feeling limited in your social potential, or that he is being, or this individual, whoever is a man or a woman, is being overprotective right now and is limiting your ability to be social. Future is the house of the woman, which means that if it's a woman, it would be affecting everything, and luck. So, let's say the woman came to me and I'd say, look, here's the thing. This was a time in your life where you felt very much pressured. You felt like you were in a certain cycle that you needed to be with someone. Now you feel pressured and you feel overprotected and you feel like you're limited in your social options. What I see coming your way is luck if you handle your own business and go your own way and explore those sides of yourself that you'd like to explore by being more social, by being more outgoing. There is great fortune that comes to you. And I might add one more to this because it feels like the sentence isn't done. That affects the house of limitations. This, I have a feeling I know where this is going to go. Okay, and security. Which means that depending upon what you choose next determines whether you have more freedom or you feel even more locked down and more bogged down by your security. The seeds of this were in, well, I felt like my clock was ticking and I needed to be with someone, ended up now feeling limited in social potential and possibilities. The luck for you comes with whether or not you choose to go with that desire to go outward more and explore more options. Otherwise, if not, or what it looks like she's going to do is stay and be stuck and be bound by the security that had its seeds in the original thing here, which was a decision that was made based on something that had to do with hormones, cycles, a desire for an animalistic expression, those things that we go through. Maybe there are times in your life where you feel more driven and more primal, and that was one of those, and she felt and ended up in this position and ends up bound because of it. The seeds were in this choice right here. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to try one more. I'm going to show you a career question. So this shows you what area, in terms of the houses, come into play, A, and B, what the seeds of it were. And not enough people, I think, look at what the seeds were that got you there. They just see the fruit done, and they don't understand that if you take the seed from the fruit and go backwards, you find where it was planted, what the soil was like, what the conditions were like, what the rain was like, what the humidity was like. It tells you everything that was happening at the time if you can go backward into the seed. That's why it's important that we look at how this got here, because then you can make the choice in the future. So like, for example, with our woman friend here, she's like, okay, you felt like you were being limited and then you were running out of time, and then you ended up in this relationship that now has if you feel it limits your potential, that's going to limit your potential even more. But if you say, hey, look, there's really more I want, and you move forward in that direction, knowing what you did before, going, I'm not going to let that happen. I have plenty of time to do what I want and explore what I want. Okay? So let's say someone comes to you for job advice. They say, okay, I'm concerned about a career. This is falling out again. That woman keeps falling out. She wants to talk. All right, so someone comes to you for career advice, and you go, okay, here. The house of, again, moon and health. Okay, so how I might say this. Cycles, in the house of cycles, a health, well-being. So it might be that you felt at that time as though the trend and cycle of healthcare was the right thing for you to do, and you followed that trend. Friend, in the house of friends, second chance. You see a friend of yours who's having a second chance at their life and is following their passion, outcome, which is likely to inspire you to go in another direction and make another deal or another contract. There's a few ways we could read this. The cycle of your career was rather healthy for a while. Now you're finding a second wind with a friend and you guys are likely to marry, and that's likely to affect your career and your livelihood. And then the woman, you find yourself in a situation where in the end you become outmaneuvered. So depending upon what the person is asking about, because these are just hypotheticals, okay? So you went into the healthcare business, let's say. You see a friend following their passion, you're deciding to go in a new direction, and you feel trapped because no one is letting you express yourself in new ways because you spent so much time in healthcare, you've been pigeonholed, and you've been trapped by that. That's one of the ways you can read it. So, the seeds of this are in this. You were following the trend, or a cycle, or something you were seeing on a grand scale that you thought you had a feeling for. You ended up not liking it. You felt like you saw friends around you going in new directions, having second chances. You thought you'd have a second chance. You said, hey, I'm going to, in the house of happiness, I'm making a contract with myself, a deal with myself to be happy. However, I'm finding myself limited and pigeonholed by having gone ahead and followed this trend to begin with. What's the lesson? The seeds are in this. Don't follow the trends. You have to follow something bigger that's related more to you. So now we're in a tricky place. And I would say, how might you go about fixing this for this woman? What might you do? You find yourself trapped, and then you go, yeah, that's where I'm at. If I imagine, okay, so you have to start in this area of your life, which would be the house of learning, something new that moves you into a new area. So you'll be able to move once you learn something new. And those of you who do reading for people on careers, you see this all the time. Someone gets pigeonholed in an area and they're told you have to go back in school and learn something new. I'm always hesitant to tell people to go back in school because in a lot of cases, so like if I said, what happens if you go back in school in the house of security and job? Not so good, okay? There's a lot of confusion, a lot of things you have to deal with, and a lot of debt that could accrue from that, from going back. So there's a mess here from following the trend. You see this in this particular case. And the funny thing is, if you start to play with hypotheticals, you start to realize that once you decide on a hypothetical like this, it actually picks up steam and becomes a life of its own. And then you've got a story as if there's a person really sitting here before you, which is a very interesting thing that the cards will do to help teach you. And it also shows you in some sense that there is a natural pattern to some of these things if you look at what the outcome of the seeds are. That's why sometimes when you're reading someone, you might be going, geez, I'm not seeing a way out right now. And the quickest way out would be to learn something new and to use what you learn to get you moving in a new direction, and do so in small increments that get you to move. But you invested an awful lot of time in this trend and you spent a lot of cycles building this up. So now people are trying to say, well, this is your background, this is your career, why do you want to move into something else? And those of you who've tried to move from one career from another, you know how difficult it can sometimes be because you get pigeonholed. So, okay, so that's how you do it. You look at what area of their life by laying down a card, and then boom, you've got a house, okay? And then lay a card on top of it, shows you what's happening in that area of the life. You're combining both energies, so that I'll do another video maybe. If you guys want, I'll do another video on how to combine cards and get that. And I did something else about pairs, another video a while back. And then look at the seeds of the past and how they unraveled or how they grew out to be what is the future. And then look at where they are in the middle, and that'll give you a better sense of how they got to this point and what the seeds are and what they can do in that case. So like for this woman who had the career, okay, you followed a big trend that led you into healthcare. Now you find yourself stuck. What did that show you? That showed you not to look at these big trends or what other people are telling you. Because sometimes that's what happened. People go into a career because everyone's like, oh, you should go into this. You should go into that because there's a lot of jobs there. Well, that's what she followed, and now she finds herself pigeonholed and limited, and now she's got to start small and work her way out. And then you can say, now you know, don't follow the trend. Go after something that you feel really is where you'd like to invest your time and your energy and what you really define as success. Okay, so I'm Lucky Lynx. I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions about any of this, please put it in the thing below. I'll do my best to answer. And as always, I'm wishing you success and good fortune. If you want a reading, conjurehope@gmail.com. Conjurehope, all one word, @gmail.com is my email address. And if you want to text me or call me, 779-302-8009. I do readings for people all over the world all the time, but I always have time for you. So give me a call, and I will do text, phone, Facebook chat reading. I do not do Skype, but I will do email, any other thing. Wishing you, again, success and good fortune in all you do, and you guys have a wonderful week.